All right, hello, wine drinking people. Time for more of what I've had to drink yesterday. 2 events in one night last night, so a busy night here at the Wine Watch, and that's just how I like it. Hey, I drink 2 bottles a day. I may be upping it to 3 this year with 2 events in one night. 11 wines for our Bouchard Pere fans. Hey, 12 if you count the Jacquesson Cuvée 744. That's right, we started both events with this tasting, with this wine, the Champagne House. That 744 is a base of 2016, and then a blend of a dozen or more, 2 dozen, 3 dozen other wines like Krug. Hey, this is where Mr. Krug started before he founded his own Champagne House, and now owned by the Artemis Group. And hey, he started in 1993 with Château Latour, and now they own some of the most prestigious labels in all of France. Chateau Gruyere. They have Bouchard that they just acquired. And hey, how do you get 100 hectares of Premier and Grand Cru vineyards in Burgundy in one swoop? This is the only property you could buy. This was the largest in terms of ownership of Premier and Grand Cru in all of Burgundy, and the Bouchard family, I want to say, hasn't owned it for a while. The Henriot group had it. And Luc Bouchard, a good friend of the Wine Watch, we've done several events with him throughout the years. I'll never forget the first time I met him 25 years ago at the Great Wine Seminar, and he brought the 1949 baby Jesus, L'Enfant Jesus, and a Premier Cru Beaune. I couldn't believe that this wine was so fresh and it was so drinkable for such an old Burgundy. And hey, we've had many vintages of that wine. Didn't have it on the table tonight, but these guys sent us some older wines. When they bought the property, they started opening up some of the old wines because these guys have got several million bottles in the cellars here in Beaune, and the largest collection of vintage wine, maybe outside Domaine Loire. I don't know. Domaine Loire, they speculate, is bigger. And, they're now starting to release them. And, provenance is everything. They may be a little expensive, but they're coming right from the domain. And, they've been stored properly. Hey, this property was built as an armament, and the walls are like 6 meters thick. It's incredible. If you want to go to Burgundy, it used to be the easiest place to see. They used to be open to the public and do a tour every day. No longer. Very hard to get into Bouchard. Hey, you got friends here at the Wine Watch. It's not what you know, it's who you know. So, yes, if you're big fans of this property, you want to visit them, please let us know. We'll try to get you an appointment there, but no longer can just walk into this property. But it is an amazing property. If you go to Beaune, you want to try to get into Bouchard if you can. And hey, you think just because artists bought them that they're going to raise the prices. Well, our friend Victor Pepin, who was here last night, said no. At the end of the day, Frederic Ingenieurs, who runs everything, said, we want to make these wines accessible. We want people to drink them. Yes, thank you, Frederic, because at the end of the day, you raise the price to astronomical levels, and people just set them aside and look at them forever into perpetuity, and nobody opens them up. And it was great that they sent us some wines from the 80s. I think the 80s and 90s, 2 decades, and are drinking at their peak right now for my taste. And hey, a lot of people think just because Pinot Noir is light in color, it doesn't age. Hey, it's high in pH, high in acid, low in pH, meaning that is the most important thing. We've had Burgundies 100 years old we've opened up here and still drinking beautifully. Amazing. Hey, it may be a little too old for my taste. When these start to get old, they start to get a little of this kind of funk to them and a little what I call dirty baby diapers kind of character. And the 89s definitely got a little bit of that going on here, a little funk. And hey, as it opens up, that blows off. And you get, I want to say, some lovely tertiary aromas here. And the fruit does start to fade over time. So for my taste, I want to say the 90s and the first decade of this century really hitting their peak right now. And hey, the oldest white wine we've ever opened up at our vintage Burgundy tasting, 1955 Polini Montrachet Folitaire from Bouchard, was wine of the night. Hey, the oldest wine they have in their cellar is a white. It's a Meursault from 1846. So you don't feel like white wines age. They can age again. A higher pH than red, a higher acid rather, lower pH than red. So the white wines potentially, if they're made correctly, could age longer than the reds. And hey, we didn't have any old whites tonight. We started out with 2022, which these guys are not going to release their 2023s until next year. Most people are coming out with them right now. 2022, a very charming vintage. Hey, a warm year. They're all warm years now. Thank you, global warming. Thank you, climate change. It's been great for Burgundy. Chaptalization still happens in Chablis, but they haven't had to chaptalize in Burgundy. Victor didn't confirm this, but 2011, a lot of people tell me was the last time they had to add sugar to the fermenting juice to get the alcohol over 13%, which we had 3 very high-level whites here. None of the village stuff. We started out with Premier Cru, Meursault here, 2022, and I don't want to say, before the night, I knew what the top white was going to be. We gave everyone a vote for whites and a vote for reds. And hey, all the whites got votes. This Meursault to me, the most California-esque of all the villages in Burgundy. It's got this lush forward fruit and not quite as austere as some of the other, top-level whites. Very drinkable, some exotic kind of spicy notes here, some white flowers. You get that, chalky minerality you get from Burgundy, the Kimmeridgian limestone. And Corton-Charlemagne, still the greatest value in Grand Cru. And it's really hard to find the ones that say Montrachet. And the only thing that's continued to go up in price in Burgundy is the Grand Cru whites. Very hard to get those wines labeled Montrachet, even though a lot of fine wine has been down some 25%. White Burgundy continues to climb. The demand for white Burgundy worldwide is just soared. And hey, Corton-Charlemagne, still the greatest value, but it's gone up in price too. This year's $300 a bottle. Very rich, very layered. This 2022 Corton. Depends where you are on the hill. These guys have got a very good exposure here. A longer finish than the Meursault. To me, it was evident. Corton-Charlemagne, Meursault, Corton-Charlemagne, and Chevalier Montrachet. Thank you, baby Jesus. I'll tell you what, anytime we get to taste these Grand Cru whites with the name Montrachet, it's a special night. I knew before the tasting began. I told everybody, hey, you're going to get a vote for whites and reds, and the Chevalier Montrachet is pretty much going to win at the end of the night. People that didn't vote for this, I don't understand it. It's another level, The finish on this wine is so long, it goes on for over a minute, and it's got this viscosity. Even though the other two wines have this lovely creaminess, this wine, definitely the richest of all three of the whites. I'm going to have this wine 20 years from now. I'll tell you what, it's going to be amazing and still delicious right now. They're making wines much more approachable, much more drinkable in Burgundy, and that's because the sugar levels are higher. Hey, the 2022s, all the reds were fantastic. The Volnay Caillerets, this is the oldest property that the Bouchards owned. And wow, what a beautiful nose. You get some lovely violet floral notes to this, some cherry, some raspberry, and absolutely delicious on the tongue, well balanced, drinking beautifully. These 22s, you can drink them right now. I want to say they're going to reward you if you have some patience. And as we could see with some of the older wines, they really some nice development here. Hey, Le Corton, again, like the white Grand Cru, the greatest value for red, and Bouchard's always a very approachable style in this Le Corton. I love the 17 Corton right now. To me, it's drinking at its peak. I wouldn't keep it any longer. These 22s do need a little time, especially when you get into the Grand Cru level. But wow, just so exotic. Lovely spice to this wine, lovely fruit, and a long finish to Corton. Like I said, by far the best value. Hey, we stepped up to Chambertin Clos de Beze next. And Chambertin Clos de Beze, one of the highest level of all the Grand Crus in the Côte de Nuits. Just exotic nose. And I want to say, again, I don't know, the Corton was great, the Volnay was great, but this, by far the best of the 2022s. Just the most complex nose, the longest finish, and a lovely richness to the palate here. Really silky and sexy on the tongue, and really fun to try the 12. You got 10 years jump here. I want to say, the 12 vintage showing some evolution, but still very young. You get a little exotic brown spices coming out of the nose here. Got a lot of fruit left in this wine still. Just starting to enter into that second level of evolution here as a wine, the 2012s. And then fun to go back another 10 years to 2002. This is where I want to say I like to drink my wines. Now, this isn't Chambertin Clos de Beze, it's Corton. And the Corton definitely showing a little better the 2022 than the Chambertin Clos de Beze. But the 02 absolutely singing right now. Silky smooth on the tongue, exotic, and a long finish. I love the 02. To me, drinking in the right place for my taste buds right now, the 02. The 93, an interesting vintage. You know what? There's a lot of high-level 93s, but there was rain at the end of harvest in 93, and you had some rot. So if you didn't, I want to say, deal with that appropriately, you had some 93s that weren't great. This one is very good, though. I have to say, it's a little tannic, though. There's still some tannins in this wine. The Corton 93, just starting to get, I want to say more of that earthy character coming out in it, like the 1989 Volnay Caillerets. This wine, fantastic. I love the 89 vintage and the 90 vintage right now from Burgundy. Like I said, a little bit of that funky baby diaper stuff when we opened it up, blowing off nicely, and Wow, silky smooth, exotic. Still has lovely fruit here, a lovely richness and concentration, a long finish. And all of the reds got votes. So a much closer race with the reds as I knew it would be. And you know, you always get extra at the Wine Watch. So the Artemis Group also owns a winery in the Willamette Valley. The Willamette, the greatest place in the world for high-level Pinot that can age Beaufrere's, the Upper Terrace 07. And yeah, a few people got this. I don't know if they looked and you see what Artemis owned, but it was obviously, I want to say Pinot Noir. Now, the Willamette Valley, you could mistake for Burgundy, but no, this wine, I want to say a little fruitier. You know, to me, Oregon Pinots are kind of in between Burgundy and California. Definitely not as fruity as California, maybe not as earthy as Burgundy. But this 07 Upper Terrace, drinking beautifully right now. And hey, we've thrown in Oregon wines and California wines to high-level Burgundy tastings, and they do very well. Hey, the wine of the night, of course, the Chevalier Montrachet. In the white and in the red, the Chambertin Clos de Beze 2022, closely followed by the Corton and the 12 Chambertin Clos de Beze. But a great night. Thank you very much, Victor, Lori, and Chris Lozano for coming to help me host this event. Hey, and these guys will be back. We do a tasting with Bouchard Pere every year to showcase the new releases. And that is what I had to drink last night at our Bouchard Pere event. I'm your host, Andrew Lampasoni, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying remember, always drink the good stuff first.